Hey guys, Miss Blake here for your first lesson. We're going to start with Chapter 1. Section 1.1 is points, lines, and planes. These are considered your undefined terms of geometry, your three undefined terms of geometry, points, lines, and planes. What they mean by undefined, because we're going to talk about definitions in a minute, what they mean by undefined is the definitions are kind of vague. When I say point, it has no shape, size, it's just a location. So the definitions are very vague. Objective, I will be able to identify, name, and draw the fundamental components of geometry, okay, including points, lines, and planes. Little joke to start it off. What did the little acorn say when he grew up? Geometry. You'll get used to it. All right, so your three undefined terms of geometry, we got points, lines, and planes. Again, a point names a location, but it has no shape or size. A line is a straight path that has no thickness and extends forever in both directions. Both directions. Sorry, I forgot to draw one for point. And a plane is a flat surface that has no thickness and extends forever in all directions. Usually you see it drawn kind of like a parallelogram, but understand it continues on in all directions. So naming. Point, so if you see a picture that looks like this, that would be point P. There is no abbreviation. You literally have to write out the word point P. So if you see this, you're going to name it point P. Here, there's multiple ways you can name lines. So sometimes you'll see a little cursive letter hanging out and see there's no dot next to it, so it's not a point. It's usually hanging out around the end of the line. So you could call this line L, and that is a cursive L. So you could call this line L, and that was the first one that's written out here. However, if you don't like writing the word line every time, there is a symbol for line, and it's a line. You draw it, have arrows on both sides. So you can use 2 points. All right, so you can use that little cursive letter hanging out on the end, or you can pick any 2 points on that line. There happen to only be 2 points on this line, so we could call it line XY or line YX. Order does not matter. So XY, so you would read this as line XY, and you would read this as line YX. Next one is a plane. Again, they usually show it as sort of a parallelogram, but again, understand it's going on in all directions. So again, sometimes in the corner, there's a letter. It's in cursive. It has no dot next to it, so it's not a point. So these are all points. Point A, point B, point C. This one doesn't have a dot next to it. It's not a point. So that's actually naming the plane the easy way. So you could call this plane R and be done. And that's what that first one is, plane R. Or you could pick 3 points on the plane. Again, there only happen to be 3 points on this plane, so you could call it plane ABC. And unfortunately, there's no symbol, so you just have to write out the word plane. Now, understand you can use any mixture of these letters. You could have said CBA, CAB, BAC, whatever. Okay, pick 3 points on the plane. One thing that I'm going to add in here is in order to name a plane, the points cannot be collinear. Collinear, when you hear the word linear, I'm hoping you think of line, linear, line. Col means together, so together on the same line. Together on the same line. Collinear is on the same line. So what do I mean by that? If you had a plane, we're just going to name some points here. We're going to call this A, B, and C. A, B, and C. Then we're going to put some random point over here, D. All right, there's a lot of different ways you can name this plane. You could call it A, B, D. You could call it A, C, D. You could call it C, B, D. So you could call it a lot of different names, but there's one name you're not allowed to use. and that deals with collinear. So you cannot call this ABC. All right, so in order to name a plane, the points cannot be on the same line. All right, you've got to have it at least one off the line. So when I said A, B, D, right, D was not collinear with them. So again, you could name this A, B, D. And we'll learn more about that later. So let's try some examples, and this will be very similar to your homework. Name a line 2 different ways. All right, so let's pick a line in here. I see arrows. So let's name it 2 different ways. So this is point U right here, just so you know. We just need 2 letters. So we can pick any 2 letters. How about T to U? Line to U means line to U. It's this whole thing. You could also call it, how about we say V to T? There's millions of different ways you can answer these questions. Okay, you could have called it T, U, U, T, T, V, V, T, U, V, V, U. All those are naming the same exact line. So pick 2 points that are on the line. That will be the name of the line. Next one, is plane TUV another name for plane R? Why or why not? TUV. No, because they are collinear. No, because those points are collinear. All right, remember you have to have non-collinear points. Name a point not on plane R. So here's plane R. Looks like S is off on its own, so we're going to write out point. Okay, don't just write S. You have to tell me it's point S. Name 3 collinear points. Well, we already kind of talked about that. Here's a line and the 3 points that are on it. So points. You don't have to write it out every single time. You can just write points. T, U, and V. Are collinear, are on the same line. A little bit more vocab. Line segment, a part of a line with 2 endpoints. So it stops. Oops. Okay, it doesn't have arrows, it doesn't keep on and on. Array is a part of a line that starts at an endpoint and extends forever in one direction. So array only heads one direction, forever and ever. Opposite rays, they have a common endpoint, but they head different directions. So this one will head to the right, this one will head to the left. And notice they will form a line. They will form a line. Same endpoint, different directions. And then we've already kind of hit on collinear a little bit on the same line. So collinear is on the same line. Coplanar, when you hear plane, you think of a plane. Coplanar means on the same plane. So if you have a plane, it's a B. Points A, B, and C are on the same plane. You would say they are coplanar. And naming, very similar line segments. Pick 2 points on the line segment and you can name it that. So here you can call it line segment. Notice there's no arrows. No arrows. Line segment AB, or you could switch it around, line segment BA. So either one of those is acceptable. Now array, order matters. So lines, it doesn't matter. Line segments, it doesn't matter. Array, it matters. Because you're telling me the first letter is always the endpoint. So we're starting at R, that's our endpoint, and we're heading in the direction of S forever and ever. That's how you would read this. Start at R and head in the direction of S forever and ever. Okay? So you cannot call this ray SR. You cannot switch up the letters. Also, the symbol for ray, it will always head this direction. All right, just because the ray in the picture is heading to the left does not mean that my symbol, this is just a symbol. So all this stands for is the word ray. So we have, this stands for the word line. This stands for line segment. And this stands for ray. Okay, so it's just a symbol. The direction that it's facing doesn't mean anything. The letters below it tell you. which way you're going. R in the direction of S. And then a picture of opposite rays. Again, notice they have that same endpoint, but they head in opposite directions. So they both start at E. One heads in the direction of G, and one heads in the direction of F. E to F, E to G. A postulate, we're going to talk about these a lot, is a statement that's accepted true without proof, so we're not going to prove these. Through any 2 points, there's exactly one line, which means if I give you 2 points, you should be able to draw me one line and only one line. Through any 3 non-collinear, so not on the same line, these are definitely not on the same line, points, there is exactly one plane. So if I have 3 non-collinear points, I have one plane that goes through them. And that kind of tells you why you can't use collinear points to name a plane. Because if they're on the same line, all right, 3 points on the same line, you could be naming multiple planes that go through that line. As soon as you have non-collinear points, there is exactly one plane and we're all on the same page here. And then the last one, if 2 points lie in a plane, then the line containing those points, so the lies in the plane. So if these 2 points are in the plane, then that line will be in the plane as well. And then the next example, name a line that passes through 2 points. So here we have 2 points. There's lots of different ways you can name it. We could call it line N. See, there's no point here, so you can call it line N. Or let's use some symbols. We could use points. We can use points G and H and call it line. Remember to have your arrows, GH. Or you could call it line HG. Either one of those, any of those works. So they are all correct ways to name that line. All right, your homework is posted on Google Classroom. There's actually a picture of that textbook page on Google Classroom as well. Make sure you show any work. And then when you're done, upload it to Focus. Bye, guys.